Alright, Algebra 1 students, I thought it'd be a good idea to post a small video that kind of went over some of the things we talked about in class today over using the graphing calculator to enter statistics and come up with those measurements of mean, median, mode, quartiles, interquartile range, all those things we talked about in class. So if you were gone, this is going to be a really useful video to help you see how to use the graphing calculator. So if you need any extra time to copy something down, or at any point need to go back and replay something, you can do that, but pause the video, go back, listen to it again, whatever you need to do to try and understand this a little bit better. In class, we started off by taking measurements over how many different pairs of shoes each student had in class. So we collected data like this, and this is the set of numbers from one of the classes today. 5, 10, 7, 2, 6, 2, 7, 3, 8, 3, 2, 7, 7, 5, 17, 17, 2, 7, and 10. Okay, so we took those numbers for numbers of pairs of shoes at home just to get a quick set of data, and then we looked at how to use the graphing calculator. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of write some things down here, and then I'm going to actually show you a demonstration on the calculator of how to enter these and get some of those information pieces. Okay, so one of the things that we can do is we want to use this button on the calculator. Okay, the stat button. Okay, once we do that, we can actually enter this set of statistics into a table. And so what you do is you hit this button first, and then you go to the Edit menu. And I'm going to show you all this in just a minute. And in the Edit menu, option number 1 says Edit. That's the first thing we're going to do. And so I'm going to show you on the calculator how to do that. Okay, rather than trying to put a calculator like this under the document camera where there's kind of a glare on the screen and it's tough to see what's going on, I've actually brought up a program that helps me show you what to do in that case over here. And so what you're seeing is kind of a computer version of this calculator, okay, which works very similar to the ones that we're using in class now. This is just a newer version. So it should still work the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the Stat button, which is right here. By clicking the Stat button, it brings up this menu. Okay, like I said, we want to do Edit, so we're already on option 1. All we have to do is go down here and hit Enter, and then we can enter these statistics. And so to do this, we start entering them one at a time, and they don't even have to be in the right order. I'm going to show you how the calculator will sort those for you into that order. So we're going to start with our numbers 5, and after each one, you'll notice that this is list 1. Okay, that's what the L1 stands for. We're never going to use L2 and L3 in this video. We're just going to stick with L1. So the first entry for L1 is going to be 5. Hit Enter. It brings it up. And then we had a 10, so you type in 10 for the second one. Hit Enter. And then 7 for the next one, and hit Enter. And you hit Enter every time. And you keep going through that. And I'm actually going to take a shortcut and get all these put in, and then I'll continue recording the video. Okay, so I've got all the data entered. Notice that this last one is list 1, number 20. That's our 10th number in that data set. And I actually made a mistake a little bit earlier. This is a 17, and this is a 1 and a 7. Those are different numbers. So I went back and I fixed it so that they're correct in this. We should have 20 different numbers. And so we have our data entered. So the next thing I want us to do is to look at how to sort that data. So I'm going to write some things down over here, and then we're going to enter that in our calculator and follow that order. So we go to our Stat button again. Okay, and I'll show you how to do this on the calculator in a minute. And then if we're still in the Edit side of that menu, option 2 is to sort, and then A. There's an option 3 that says Sort D. We don't want that one, and I'll show you what I mean. So if I go back over here on the calculator side of things and I click Stat, you'll see that there's Sort A and Sort D. I want the Sort A option, so all I have to do is push the down arrow until I'm at Sort A, or I could just type in the number 2. But if I use the down arrow until I'm on number 2, hit Enter, and it asks me which list I would like to sort. And remember, we had L1 was the name of our list, list 1. And if you look at the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we have L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, L6 right above and to the left of those numbers, and they're in blue. And what that means is you can use your second button And by typing the 1 key now, it actually brings up L1. And so I want to sort list 1. And so I hit enter, and it says that it's done. It doesn't show me automatically what it is. It says that it's done, so I'm going to go back to stat, and I'm on edit, so that's what's going to bring up that list again. And you'll notice that those numbers are all in order now. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, so on and so forth. And so we can get our data in order that way. Again, follow this pattern. Stat, edit, sort A, and then you want to put in L1. Okay, so you're going to use the second button to type that in. Alright, so in the previous lesson we looked at how to find mode, median, and mean. And so what I want to show you is how the calculator can do some of these things for you, and even more. And so in this lesson we looked at finding these, but also finding a lot more. The calculator will not tell you the mode, but remember, the mode is just the number that shows up the most, and so you can still look at your list and figure that out. And whenever you have been typing this in, you probably realize that you typed in a lot of 7s. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. This should be 6. Even if we didn't count that as a 7, if we counted that as a 17, the mode is still the number 7. It shows up more than any other number. But for median and mean, we can use the calculator function. So I'm going to show you how to do that on the video, and then I'll go back and write down what we did. So we're going to click the Stat button to go back to our menu for statistics, but I don't want to edit those statistics. I want to calculate for those statistics. So I'm going to move over to the Calc menu, and all that we have to do is use the one variable stats. And so it's already option number 1. All you have to do is hit enter. Now, this calculator is going to work a little bit different than the ones in class. All you'd have to do after you, I'm going to go back and hit it again, go to Calc, I'm going to do one variable stats. If you, on the calculators we have in class, you just have to hit enter twice. That's all you have to do. But for this one, you have to hit it a couple more times. And it'll do that, and it brings up this list of numbers. Okay, it seems really confusing. It seems like there's a whole lot there that doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's okay. We don't need all of that. We just need certain parts. We're going to start with this first one. This X with a line over it is our symbol for mean. Okay, so when we have an X with a line over it, that's what I'm going to use to represent what our mean is from now on. So our mean, or average, is 5.9. Calculator figured that part out for us. Okay, and then it lists a bunch more, and we're going to come back to some of this. Notice it says n equals 20. That just means there's 20 numbers that we have in our table, in our list. So notice there's an arrow, meaning I can scroll down and see some more. Min x means the minimum number we have is a 1. That's important. And then Q1, MED, and Q3. We're going to talk about these three. MED is median. We know what that is. That's 6.5. Because our median is between two other numbers, we take the average. It's actually between 6 and 7. So the median is 6.5, so we can write that down. 6.5. So we found mean, median, and mode, but there's a lot of other measurements that we're going to incorporate into this lesson. The first two are Q1 and Q3. These stand for quartiles. Okay, and I showed in class how to use a box and whisker plot to find quartiles. And what that means is if I line up all the numbers in a dot plot, the very middle number is our median. And then if I go between the minimum and the max, if I go halfway between the minimum and the median, I get another halfway number between those called the lower quartile. Okay? And that lower quartile from your list, you can see right over here, Q1 always means the lower quartile, is 2.5. So that's a number we need to be able to write down. And then the upper quartile, Q3, in this case is a 7. So we need to be able to write down those measurements also. Mode, median, and mean, but then the two quartiles. The next measurement I want us to worry about is called the interquartile range. And the interquartile range is just the distance between the two quartiles on a number line, or the difference in those numbers. So I'm just going to do 7 minus 2.5 and get that the interquartile range by the way, is always Q3 minus Q1. That's all you have to do is take these two numbers from your calculator, Q3 and Q1, and subtract them. 7 minus 2.5 is 4.5. Okay, just do the subtraction either in your calculator or in your head or on paper. 7 minus 2.5 is 4.5. So that's your interquartile range. And there's one other number we're going to use off of this list. And so I'm going to go back to my calculator over here on the right, and I'm going to keep going back up until I get to this number, S with an X after it. That's the only other number off this list we're going to use. Okay, and this right here means standard deviation. And we don't really have to worry too much about what this means right now. I just want you to be able to pick it off the list. But we did talk about the word deviation means other than the normal. Okay? And so a standard deviation, it's like we're taking our list and saying there is a certain acceptable amount you can go away from the normal or middle of this set of data and still be part of the list. And so that's all this is really telling you. And what that says, if you look at the calculator, our standard deviation was 3.7822299919. And so that's about 3.78. We can just round to 2 decimal places. And this is the one we want. Now, if you are watching this video and you were in my first hour class, I am sorry. I told you wrong, and I'm going to correct that next week. I told you to look at the sigma x, this little symbol circle with a tail at the top. It's called sigma. That's a Greek letter. We actually don't want that one. I had the wrong one, and I had the wrong information. I'll fix that for you guys. But if you're in fourth block, I told you guys right the first time. We want SX, which is our standard deviation. Okay? So those are the 7 things we're going to find on any set of data that we have. And so I'm going to show you one quick example that we did on the notes page. So on the notes that were given in class, we did example 1 together, and we just went back in. We put all these numbers in our data, and we found mode, median, mean, lower quartile. Again, lower quartile is just that Q1 off the list. Upper quartile is just Q3. Then the interquartile range, again, we just did Q3 minus Q1 to write that number. And then sample standard deviation, that's just your S of X. So we're going to find those 7 things using this set of data, but we're going to put that data into the calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our calculator. I'm done with the information here, and I'm going to clear that out. And then I'm going to go back to stat. Now, if I go back and I just click edit to go to my lists again, it still brings up the same data set I was using. Now, I could hit the delete button repeatedly or hold it down until it's all cleared out, but there's actually a shorter way to do that. So go back to the stat menu, and you'll notice the 4th option down says to clear the list, CLR list. So I'm actually going to go down and select option 4, and I can clear that list out. It'll ask me which list I want to clear. I'm going to do my second and then L1 button again and hit enter, and it says that it's done. So when we go back to our stat and edit, I have an empty list to use again. So I'm going to put all these data in. I'm going to pause the video and do that without taking up video time. So it'll look like this. Okay, so I have all those entered, and I do not have to even sort them. I can just leave them in this order, and I can go to my stat button again. And remember, I want to calculate all those values, and I want the single variable statistics. That's the option we choose, option 1 every time. I don't worry about any of the rest of this. I just want single variable statistics. So I hit enter, and click enter again until it brings up that list. All right, so from this list, we can get all of these things. So what I want you to do is pause the video whenever you see the answers I get to see where I get them from. Okay. From this list, you can see the first one is your mean. Remember, X with the line above it's your mean. That's 8.5. We just rounded to 8.5 or 8.47. The median, we could scroll down and see, 6. The mode was also 6. You notice you entered more 6s than any other number in your list. And then the rest of these just come off of the list. Q1 is 5. Q3 is 13. So for the interquartile range, we did 13 minus 5 and got 8. And then the SX, standard deviation, is 5.95. And that should help you a little bit if you have trouble using the calculator.